can't bring myself to do it.
You gotta look for something that you gotta plug it in and get it fucking all set up and whatnot. It is
Well, while
just
we're
a
still kind of
hassle.
getting all, while we're still
Okay.
trying to get all this stuff out of the way, let me just get this part out of the way. Last time we recorded, I just kind of slipped my mind because I think I was just running through all my stuff, all the Martin McDonough like trivia and all little things I knew, and just trying to focus on that. So this kind of slipped my mind, but I meant to say it last time. When we were doing the Deadpool podcast, I kind of made an ass of myself, and I already apologized to you. But the end of it, and I know I'm probably the only one that cares, but I kind of noticed this shit on other podcasts, and it kind of annoys me. So I was like, oh fuck, I did that. It's like near the end, you were like talking, and I cut you off. I was like, yeah, I know what you mean. I wasn't trying to cut you off. What ended up happening there was we had a guest, someone came in the door, and they could hear me talking. Like, is someone there? Or is someone there? And rather than being like, oh yeah, I'm just recording something, rather than yelling that out, I kind of said something kind of like to the degree of kind of like almost aimed at them, kind of like middle conversation. Which then it sounded like I was cutting you off. So just wanted to apologize and just clarify myself, seem like a little bit less of an asshole. I know this show already makes me look like more of an asshole, but that just makes me just a tiny bit less of an asshole. You know?
So you want to change the name to like Asspool?
Asspool, like the name of the episode, Asspool.
It's just a weird.
I don't know. I think we're going with the wrong demographic there. I mean, look, I know I live in San Francisco, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really. It doesn't have that same ring as Old Man Orange podcast.
You can't just call somebody. You can't drive down the side of the street and see somebody you don't like and go, "Hey, you fucking Asspool."
I think that sounds like something. That sounds like maybe like some kind of like homophobic slur someone tried out, and they're just like, it doesn't have the same ring as fag. I don't know what it is. It just doesn't work. It's something with like just some rednecks, just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, I know where it comes from, but it still just don't feel right saying it.
Speaking of fag, I was watching Lethal Weapon, the original one again.
Speaking of.
Well, like there was a line in there I never caught. But when they go up after they're talking to like the little black kids and they go to the house and the house blows up and they get blown backwards and Danny Glover's like trying to like put the fire out on Mel Gibson and all of a sudden Mel Gibson gets up afterwards he's like, dude, what are you, a fag? And like stands up. I was just like, I never caught that line for as many times as I've seen that movie.
That's one of those things you can't really get away with. I'm not saying like, just something at the time, and don't take it as be like, oh, the good old days. But that's one of those things. No way you can get away with that kind of shit now. Like unless your main character was like involved in organized crime or was like a villain of some kind. There's no way you can have like Iron Man, like say, like call
Captain America's trying to put a fire out on him. He's like, dude, what are you, a fucking fag?
Just son, back in my day when you called someone that.
And then Captain America would just look up and like, what? I'm a bundle of sticks to you, you fuck? Because the saying was too old for him. It's like, yeah, I know I can chop more wood than you can, but fuck you. Fucking fag. It just becomes like some fag battle. That's what it is. It's like they actually don't fight in Civil War. They just actually just get into like some argument over like who's the biggest fag of them all.
Just a bunch of homophobic slurs back and forth at each other the whole movie, and then like the rest of the other guys get there, they're like, wait, this is what you call this for? It's not for the mutants' rights registration or the superhero registration? No, man, we just want you guys to help us decide to like in this like debate once and for all. Just like, you seriously called us for this? Like fucking Black Panther had to come all the way from Uganda for this shit. You really called me for this shit?
Bam. But yeah. Okay, so if that intro is a little bit staticky, it's because I used 2 different Wi-Fi hotspots. Fucking different than everybody else, but goddamn right. But yeah, Lethal Weapon, that right there though, I love those movies so much. And I haven't seen them in a long time. There's some of those films that, you watched a copious amount of times throughout your life, and then all of a sudden, you almost have this break. It could be anywhere from a couple of years to some movies, like I'd say close to getting up to 10 years. That movie not that long. But probably the last time I watched it was 5 years ago, like the whole series, and I hadn't watched them in a long time, but you throw them back on, and it's just like a magical moment. You're like, God, this was one of my favorite films. Just, I don't know, when I was a kid, even though it was like on this podcast, we talked about like the 90s and such glorious times, but when I was a child, the 80s was the most glorious time. I looked at that as like, just loved the hell out of it. I watched so many fucking 80s movies, all kinds of 80s shows. Everything was 80s-ified for me at that time period. You know, it was like, that was the decade that I wanted to be in. I was, you know, I'd watch movies like Lethal Weapon, and I'd go, there you go. There's a perfect time to be in LA. 1987. Still call your partner a fag.
And it was okay.
It was okay.
You weren't judged.
No, there's nothing wrong with it.
You know, I just want the times to pass where I can, you know, call someone else something that offends other people and not be judged for it. I just want to be past that time, you know?
But it's just, you know, like, there's just such good fucking movies in those time periods. I mean, there's always good movies. I mean, like, there's this one.
It's like it just stopped. It got to like the 90s. We're done.
There's this one podcast that I see every once in a while. I've listened to a couple of their episodes. I've drawn a blank on their name. I feel bad, but like on Twitter, they always say like, we're doing a podcast and we're gonna do it like all on movies of like 1990, and like that's a cool fucking idea. I like that. You know what I mean? And sometimes they do ones in 1997. So whenever I see that, I comment on there and go, guess what I like of 1990? Total Recall, Young Guns 2, fucking whatever else I threw down. But you know, but I think that's a neat idea.
Like one of those things like, here's ones you forgot. Like you do like that kind of thing.
Well, mostly like, well, yeah, I guess. Because I feel like Young Guns 2, I'm like, I forgot that was like 1990. That right there, we've talked about before. That's such a hidden gem movie.
Everyone loves Young Guns, but Young Guns 2, I honestly think, is the better movie.
Yeah.
Mainly because I think one of the biggest things, I mean, I don't think Young Guns 2 is as good without Young Guns 1. I think the thing is, you get, since it's sort of a franchise, you get kind of, I know it's very, very, very loosely based on a true story, but I think since it's kind of a franchise, you kind of think, all right, they'll make it out okay. And then once Doc dies, like, oh, fuck. And then once, like, Lou Diamond Phillips dies, like, oh, shit. And then, you know, you find out that really is Emilio Estevez out there in the desert, like, I want my goddamn hearing in court, you know.
I'm all old and the monster trucks are going to kill me later on. It's like, what? What's he talking about? And the maximum overdrive is going to be what takes over. You thought the train was bad, but now it's the maximum overdrive.
And then Mick Jagger's coming after me from a time traveling like vortex.
And then there's some aliens, and I was just trying to be a man, being a repo guy, doing his job, and next thing you know, fucking... Is he just really fucking naming off all the other movies he's been in? Yeah, it is.
Estevez, the many travels of Estevez. I've not seen Repo Man, and I have not seen Free Jack. I want to see Free Jack because it's one of my favorite frontmen from one of my favorite bands, probably my favorite band actually, and as like a time traveling bounty hunter. So I mean, people say it's horrible, but I don't.
I thought it was fun. I haven't seen it like in 10 years, but when I watched it, I was like, this is kind of cool. It's different. I literally watched it, was like, fucking Mick Jagger's in a movie, you know. And I was probably like 10 years old when I saw that film, but it got me really excited.
He did a good job in Ned Kelly. I liked him in Ned Kelly.
Yeah, that was a cool one.
I'm surprised they kind of got like a British dude to do kind of like Australia's like biggest badass of like, you know, the old Western times and all that.
But it's Mick Jagger. Who's gonna like Mick Jagger?
I love wrong. I thought he did a great job. I'm just surprised they didn't like actually try to reach for. I don't know how many famous. I mean, I'm sure there were famous Australians back then.
Like Mel Gibson.
I'm not sure how many famous Australians. Yeah, well, I'm not sure how many famous Australians you could sell. Probably back in. I'm guessing that movie had to come out somewhere in the 70s. Maybe it was the 80s.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think that movie's like 75, 76. Mel Gibson would have been probably just not. Yeah, he would have been just a little bit too young probably for that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but don't get me wrong, he did a fantastic job, and that's an awesome movie.
You know,
I didn't really know much about it. I just said Mick Jagger holding two guns on there. I'm like, that's enough.
That's all you need. Even though I will say that, like, I have learned that that somebody you like holding guns, one or two guns on the cover, does not always lead you to the best places.
Give me an example. I'm sure I know you're right.
There was this movie that had Mel Gibson holding a gun on the cover, and it had Mila Djokovic in it, and fuck, who else in it?
Well, that's like a Tuesday for Mel Gibson, like, you know, Mel Gibson holding a gun. I guess you're just not used to. It'd be like if you saw like David Bowie like holding a samurai sword, like, oh, I'm fucking in. You're just grabbing that movie right there.
That's
how
all
did this
you
slide
need.
by me, you know?
Exactly. Well, there was a moment though where there was movies I was buying. I can't remember what that one was called. It was called like Hotel something or another, and it was just okay. It wasn't bad, but it was just okay. It was kind of fucking weird too.
Hotel Rwanda.
No, that's not the Mel Gibson movie.
I've never seen that. I know that's a big movie. I know it's
I'm just guessing. I'm throwing out names of hotels. And then I remember there was another one, too. It was one of the early Pierce Brosnan movies before 007. And it was him holding a gun, right up to his face, kind of. And you're like, oh, this is going to be fucking badass. And once again, it was okay. He was like a guy who, like, diffused bombs and stuff in it. And I just remember there wasn't I don't know what it is. Like, that is probably the cheapest picture you could have. It's just like, Pierce, get close to the camera. We don't have anything for the background. Just get as close as you can. Okay, your face fills it up. Okay, bring that gun up. Boom. People will fucking buy it. It literally worked on me.
Was that Taffin, that movie? I never saw it.
No, Taffin's actually kind of cool, but he is holding a gun up in that one as well, too. That was the one where I was like, okay, good. You bought 3 or 4 movies at the same time with the same fucking cover. At least one of them panned out. That's the one where he's like the Irish guy. That's a pretty sweet film. I only watched it once, but it was great.
Matador is a pretty good one. Have you seen The Matador?
Yeah, I have. Not in a long time, but that was another fun one.
That one's almost seems like it could have been like a play, because it's like basically, I'm trying to blank on his name, but fuck. He was in As Good as It Gets. He was the dad in Little Miss Sunshine, but he's a big actor. I'm just trying to blank on the dude's name right now. But it was like, him on a business trip in Mexico, meets a hitman, Pierce Brosnan, and Pierce Brosnan's kind of like upset and all that. It's like, oh, you're the only friend I got, because they just bonded one day and they're just kind of hanging out. And that movie seems like it almost could have been a play, because then the last half of the movie is just them basically hanging out at like his at the normal dude's house, basically.
Huh, just super simple, no changes. I sort of...
I mean, they do...
I don't think I saw the whole movie. I think that's one of those ones where I might have caught it like on TV or something like that.
They're going around Mexico City, and then they're just kind of just walking around Mexico City, and then he kind of asks them, he's like, I'm a hitman. Like, no, you're not a fucking hitman. This guy, I'm a hitman. And he tells them and shows them how he does it, and then he stops. He's like, pick a guy you wanted me to kill. And he's like basically giving all the setup. This is what we're gonna do, And he says, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. This is what we're fucking doing, man. This is what we're fucking doing. He's pointing a gun and knife at him. He goes in there like he's about to kill him. Oh, I'm so sorry, wrong room. Just walks out, So I'm not gonna fucking kill him, but that's how I would kill him if I did do it, And they kind of start this friendship, and they kind of ask him if he'd help him kill somebody, and then he says, I can't do it. Then it jumps like a year or 2 years later, and then it's just kind of like, he just stops by their house, and more stuff happens. But most of the movie is just them kind of like having this big long conversation in his friend's house. So yeah.
Huh. I'll have to check that one out again. It's like, I know I've seen parts of it, but not the whole thing.
It's a good movie. It's like a dark comedy. It's not like going back. It's not like In Bruges good or Seven Psychopaths good, but it's a good movie. It's definitely worth watching. Huh. It's like, I think this is like his first or second movie after he was done being Bond.
Yeah. I want to say came out like right around maybe 2004 or 5 or something like that.
Somewhere around there, yeah.
Well, speaking of frontmen and also tying into our last podcast, the way we ended it, went to that Cradle of Filth concert, I guess, a week ago. And this is something, I guess, like in all the years of like listening to Cradle of Filth and so on, I never really noticed.
You're even wearing the t-shirt I just noticed.
I got this one. Look, it's got like fucking a demon goat and a bunch of like naked chicks and whatnot on it.
Oh, okay. That sounds...
It sounds... The other choices of t-shirts, because Cradle of Filth always has fun t-shirts. I don't know how else to describe it. Some people would not use the word fun, but that's how I always looked at it.
Yeah, it looks like a children's book cover to me.
Yeah, one of my favorite ones always was... I think it was actually a poster they saw in Rasputin's in San Francisco. But it was pretty much... It was like a demon, and he had a nun built over, and he was mounting her, and he was just fucking her from behind. I remember we had this joke for our buddy Kyle, because there was this British chick there whose mom played Barbie in animations. So if that ties all together. And Kyle and this British chick did not get along. Just fucking... Well, Kyle was fine, but she just hated Kyle. And I remember, like, we should get that poster and slap Kyle's face up on the demon and put her face on the nun. But there was also another, like, fun t-shirt, I guess you could say, at Cradle of Filth when we saw him. There was one where it had like a nun fingering herself, and on the back it said Jesus is a cunt. One of those family-friendly, like ones you wear to Christmas. Which, the only thing is, I look at the back of that shirt and I go, well, Jesus really isn't a cunt. Christians, some of them are cunts, for sure, but not really Jesus. He's actually a pretty nice guy. It's the people that followed him that just, they just didn't get it maybe, like, it's kind of there in writing, but for some reason it just didn't make enough sense to them, so they got their own ideas.
Jesus was just trying to give some people a free meal. That's all he was trying to do. He wasn't trying to fuck with no one.
But okay, here's the thing that's funny is like Danny Filth, who's like kind of like the main guy there, because I really don't think they got any of the same guys anymore. Even though the band almost feels like sort of better now. I just feel bad when you say it's like, well, now they seem like they got more guitar solos and everything's kind of like working for them. But
is it kind of like Guns N' Roses? Like
I think it is, because there was literally a part where, and this is, I just noticed this because Danny Filth comes out, he's like, "This is from my newest album, my album, not our album, my album." Like small things like that.
Speaking, you see, like the bass player kind of like lightly raises his hand, and he just turns, gives him this look, he just puts it back down, puts it on the bass.
I think it's kind of like a Wednesday 13 thing too, where it's like, you guys all have to look like me, and then that guitar player shaves half of his hair, and he's like, "I'm on to you." Fucking trying to be different. Trying to stand out. But this is
what the THX thing going here. We all look the same.
Exactly. Well, because that's kind of Cradle of Filth. You know, they all have their own kind of look, but they all look similar. But this is something I never noticed from like ever looking at album covers or music videos and everything like that. Maybe I just never watched any live ones or didn't pay enough attention. But was how fucking short that Danny Filth guy is, and he's wearing platform boots to top it all off. And he comes out, and it just looks like a fucking midget came on stage. And maybe it's just from watching him brew, just like, look, they got midgets on stage.
Midget's playing death metal.
Well, he comes on out, and he's just there, and he's so much fucking shorter than everybody else. I mean, the girl in the band is like 4 or 5 inches taller than him. He's just teeny tiny, and he's up there, and this is the only way. He's up there, and he's bouncing like this, like on his like fucking tippy toes, like off his calves, like he's almost getting warmed up to like do a squat or something like that, and he does it like all the time, and I just can't help but bust up laughing because it's this little guy dressed up like a demon. And don't get me wrong, it's like great musician, but I guess I just never knew he was that short. I'm like, hey, how fucking tall is he? 5'2"? I was almost like, I wish I was getting the fucking backstage pass to go meet him, because now I just gotta know.
It's like someone brings it up to him, his like eyes roll back, a pentagram appears beneath that person, arms reach up from hell, just pulls that person below. Yeah, so who's saying I'm short?
Exactly. Yeah, that fucking guy in the back there, fucking laughing at me coming on stage. I'm like, what do you mean, dude? I don't know. You look at the pictures of him, man. Like, look at the back of this T-shirt. He looks all big and mean. I don't know if you can see because my hair, but yeah. You see him in real life, and it's almost like it's like a 10-year-old boy.
He's adorable. You just want to hug him.
Exactly. That's how I felt.
Come on, you're coming home with me. You just throw him over your shoulder, take him back to the car. Lord, can we keep him?
But I will say that, because like I've heard this before, where people are like, yeah, Cradle of Filth, their shows are just kind of like okay. And I've heard that multiple times from people, so I just kind of assume, like, some music just does, I think you record it, but it doesn't really translate into live. And that can be vice versa, too, because I've heard bands where you hear their live show, and it's better than the recordings. Like, that's how Huey Lewis was. Like the live version, to me, is better than the original ones, because it's got way more solos in it, more things are going on. It's cool, but I think some older bands kind of do it. Like the Eagles did that with kind of like the Hell Freezes Over. Like, let's throw a copious amount of solos into our old songs.
Plus, they kind of got the years of experience of touring to know, okay, we got to mix this shit up because they can hear the same exact song in better audio back home. So I think some bands have been doing it for a while. I'm like, all right, well, let's just mix it up just a little bit, try something different.
This sounds weird, but this kind of ties back into Huey Lewis. But I remember the first time I saw Huey Lewis, I think it was in 2006, and that was, or maybe it was 2005, and that was their 25th anniversary tour. I thought about it, I'm like, this is Cradle of Filth's 25th anniversary tour now.
Wait, Cradle of Filth has been around that long?
Since 91. They're the same age as Sonic the Hedgehog. That's how I like it put together. Jesus.
Well, 91. Well, I guess I always imagine Huey Lewis being kind of older than that. I don't know.
Well, then again, I guess by that standard, like Huey Lewis is only, because if that was 2005, 2006, Huey Lewis is probably only 10 years or so before that. It's just fucking weird though to think, like, I was like, what the fuck? They're Sonic the Hedgehog age. But then the weird thing too is, I think Wednesday 13's even like that too. But I don't know. To me, Cradle of Filth, there was a time period where that band felt so new, felt so like this is like the future of like what you're listening to. It's weird. They kind of delve into it, but now you're like, fuck, they're classic rock now.
Well, I guess it's kind of like the Chili Peppers. Like you think of them as a '90s band, but they've been playing since like what, 83?
Yeah, like there's 4 albums that are from the 80s. It's weird to think about that, but yeah.
Because didn't they literally come out the same year as Motley Crue?
I think so. I think they're like same ballpark, which is weird to think because you think of Motley Crue being so big in the 80s, and you're like Red Hot who in the 80s?
And then they got because you think of them as a '90s band. I remember someone trying to I was talking about like somebody asked me like I don't know how I got this conversation. What are like your top 5 favorite albums from the '80s? And I think I threw like Uplift, Mofo, Party on there, and like I think the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like I said '80s, like that's an
It is.
'80s.
It is
That is
'80s.
'80s, bitch. You know.
Fucking Chili Peppers owns every decade.
Yeah. But yeah.
But I will say though, okay, like going back to Cradle of Filth and how people say like they don't put on that great of a show. This one was one of those ones like they were fucking spot on. They hit like every note. They had all kinds of solos, and to top it off, he played for fucking ever. Like they literally did the thing where they're like, "We're leaving, fuck y'all," you know. And then next thing you know,
Did he
it's like,
say that? Fuck
no,
y'all.
he didn't say that. But like classic thing. Which every once in a while, there's been bands where I see where like they don't come back on. They literally just said, "No, that's fucking it." What you want, an encore? What do you think you're something fucking special? And then like he came back on for like to do the encore, but he played like 8 more fucking songs. It was like, holy crap.
I didn't see him, but Wes went to go see the Pixies, and yeah, I love the Pixies. But he told me it was like literally, he's like, I love the Pixies, man. Now that not like they played bad, it was the least metal show. They come out there just like, hey, how's it going? They'll play the song, no words in between songs. Didn't come out for an encore, just like, yeah, let's just get through this. Let's get through this. Let's get through it. No, we're not playing Dig for Fire. Goodbye. You know.
Yeah, that one kind of sucks when you get those ones where you're like, that's it. You're like, no, like,
even though I do like Indie Cindy, I do feel like that album was kind of like, we really need some fucking money right now. Let's crank this thing out. And I do like that album, but I feel like maybe I'm just easily amused, or maybe it's just one of those things, just kind of like, yeah, we shit out like masterpieces, like not like it's not a big deal at all, you know?
Huh. But yeah, no,
I'm not
like,
saying it's a masterpiece, but it's good. I cut you off. Sorry, go ahead.
But I was just impressed because like it just like for a while there, I was just kind of going like, I don't think I've ever seen other than Motley Crue, who holds like the high standard of putting on like probably like the best show you can imagine. I was like, metal bands, like all of them, they would all like their concerts would be over maximum an hour and a half. So I just assume I'm like, maybe it's just hard to play metal for longer than that. That's what I just kind of assume it's like, maybe that's why they don't do it. Because every band I'd see, it's like, okay, an hour and a half. I mean, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. That's probably a good length. But every once in a while, you're kind of like, after you see that Motley Crue show, it's just like it sets the bar so fucking high. It's like if somebody can play for 2.5 hours, no opening act, and have a fucking circus theme and shit going on, like you just kind of like from that point on, you just kind of hope that somebody else can be close to it. Or even a lot of bands too. It's like you go to see them and you're like, oh, I can't wait, and then they only play for an hour, and you're like, well, that's cool, but they can only play like 6 or 7 songs, maybe 8 in that time period. And when Cradle of Filth was just like, oh, they were just like song after song after song after song after song, and fucking 2 hours long. I was like, holy fuck.
Song after song after 2 hours long.
Yeah, I was just like, just kept going and going and going. It was just like
a good rhyme. I just thought that was a good rhyme right there.
And then this show actually had like, because a lot of times you're always kind of like, fucking opening acts. Not always saying that they're bad, but like sometimes they're maybe it's just the old man in me. It's just like once again it all comes back to the Motley Crue show. Like Motley Crue didn't have a fucking opening act and they were amazing. And a lot of times it's like, you get bands, it's not like they're bad, but like when you don't really know their music or anything like that, you're kind of just like, okay, this is not really what we're here. But this show actually had some pretty good opening acts. They had this one band that was called Butcher Babies, and I've heard of them before, but like, maybe just heard a couple songs, didn't really know too much more about them. And what they were is they're like a 2-female singing band with like their male backup band. They're kind of like Rob Zombie almost. That's kind of like the style they remind me, or sort of like Rob Zombie, Slipknot-ish. Mm-hmm. Like that kind of late 90s, early 2000s new metal. And they were really fucking good. Totally energized, all kinds of excitement going. Got to meet them too. Went up to go buy a t-shirt, and then all of a sudden they like all step up right there. And the guy's like, I shook the dude's hand and everything. And I was like, cool. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I was like, sweet. It's like, oh, I didn't pay extra.
So you got to meet them, but not Cradle of Filth?
No, you had to pay extra to meet Cradle of Filth.
Makes sense.
But, yeah. But there's that, and then there was another band, I cannot pronounce them to save my life. I don't think I can remember the name. I have to like look them up. I saved them on Spotify. But they were from Australia, and they were almost kind of like a progressive metal band or whatever. And they had this violinist in there and everything, and they were pretty sweet too. Just like long, 8-minute long solos of all kinds of solos going on, guitar solos, drum solos, bass solos, violin solos. It was pretty cool.
I'm not really into like so much like death metal, and I mean there's some death metal that I like, and it's not like, oh, put this on, but it's like, oh, it's on random, cool. But there's some like I like Austrian Death Machine. I think that's pretty good. And
I would love to see Austrian Death Machine. I know they only play like they almost only play when an album comes out.
Mm-hmm. But there's, what was it? I don't even remember who they were, but there was like one band I went to, and I don't know, I think maybe you call it progressive like death metal, or I think someone referred to it as sludge, but it was very loud, and very slow, and it'd have like it was like 10-minute songs. And just like screaming like "Rah!" It was very loud but just very slow at the same time. And I didn't really even want to go that much. It was just kind of like a friend of mine who was about to leave, so I was like, all right, I'll go to this show with you. I literally, for as loud as that was, it was in a big crowd, like dark. Like this is a pretty cool bar down, kind of like in the Tenderloin area. But it was like I was literally standing there. I like fell asleep standing, listening to this music because it was like
so slow and
it's loud. But you think so? You think it would keep me awake, but it was so slow, and I literally fell asleep standing there. My friend like knocks me, he's like, "Isn't this guy fucking awesome?"
Yeah. Well, sometimes because mostly. I guess like there's a lot of death metal out there that I'm not really the biggest fan of, just for the fact is I just can't tell what's going on. If I can't tell what's going on in the song, like it just literally sounds kind of like noise, it loses me. That's why like for screaming, I like when they kind of mix it. Like I like almost like a Pantera or a Trivium or Avenged Sevenfold, like the early stuff. Like I like when it's mixed because then you still feel like you're getting like a song, and it's not like because almost screaming's sort of a gimmick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And if all you're doing is screaming, you're almost like you're using that gimmick too much. Like perfect example is the Butcher Babies was like they would sing and they would scream, and there was two different singers. So one screamer had one had a higher pitched scream, one had a lower one, and then they'd both sing and go back and forth. So it gave it like diversity, you know?
Yeah.
And then Cradle of Filth ones like they're mostly all screaming. Every once in a while you have the girl in the background singing, which is kind of cool. I kind of like that because it sort of breaks it up and gives it like, okay, here's some different feels. Because I will say, even though I've listened to a lot of Cradle of Filth throughout my entire life, some of the stuff just kind of runs together. It's like I can't tell sort of like the difference there. To me, it's more it's kind of like this iconic band throughout my entire life. It's just always been there, always listened to it. I'm not gonna say I'm like the biggest fan of it, but I've always kind of enjoyed it. So, but it feels like it's kind of like something like you almost feel like you got to go and see. Like there's just some of those bands where you just feel like you got to go and see them. You know what I mean? And that felt like one of them. It was just like it just got like once like I always want to see what a Cradle of Filth show looks like. I remember the one time I got like some of our other buddies went to go see it, and I missed out on it. And it was the most like randomest ass concert you could think of because it was created by Bam Margera, and it's literally like he said, "I want my 4 favorite bands to come play," but like it was, you're literally like colliding fucking fans together in like such a weird way because this is what the band list was. It was Cradle of Filth.
Mm-hmm.
It was Guar. Now those two feel like they go together.
I know what the headliner is already, but continue. Yeah.
Guar was the headliner, actually.
Oh, Guar was the headliner? That's good. Okay.
So, and then it was Veins of Jenna was opening for them, and I didn't know who they were at that time, but I remember Kyle told me, he's like, dude, you gotta fucking check out this band. I literally looked up one music video, walked down to Virgin Records, fucking bought the album. It was like, yes, that's cool. But it's like weird to have this Swedish hair metal band open up for all that, because that kind of confused people. And then you had fucking...
Him.
No, not him.
It really? Was, I was so sure it was him.
See, well, I'll say this. Him would almost make more sense in there. It was that, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank right now, but that, it was almost kind of like a pop punk band. CKY, that one.
CKY? Okay, yeah. Well, I know, didn't Bam Margera, wasn't he like obsessed with the band Him? Like,
yeah, he liked that one a lot too. But I just remember because like there's like, I had mixed friends. There was people like our friends Kyle and RJ and stuff, they were like, yeah, fucking Cradle of Filth and Guar! And then they're like, I don't know why fucking CKY is there. And then there were some other guys I knew in San Francisco who were like, dude, I would so go to that show to go see CKY, but I don't know if I want to go see Cradle of Filth and Guar. And nobody knew who Veins of Jenna was. Kyle was the one person who was probably like, Veins of fucking Jenna!
So it's like one of those things, like the show's playing, it almost splits like the Red Sea. Like when the Guar comes out and Cradle of Filth, like left side's like, yeah! Then all of a sudden when CKY comes out, like the other side of them, yeah! Then when like fucking Veins of Jenna comes out, Kyle's the one guy in the middle. Woo!
Because nobody knew who they were at that time. They just had like their first album. They just came from Sweden. They're probably scared of America. Who knows, you know? It's their first time out.
They told us there's lots of killing here. They don't like Swedish so much.
I hear that people have shooting and guns, and Bam Margera just said, get in the limo and go.
There's the Fox News. We've heard horrible things about the Fox News.
Not sure I want to be here. just like almost like
Bork!
fear.
Like the fucking drummer is just like bork, 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 bork. The fucking chef from the Muppets.
And then Vegas General.
If we have any Swedish listeners, we just fucking lost them.
I know. I feel bad too with Swedish nationality in my blood.
I was just doing a German accent that whole time. I realized instead of a Swedish accent.
That's okay. What I learned from Swedish movies is that they're Swedish Nazis.
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo?
Yeah. I was like, oh, Swedish Nazis. That's a cool idea.
I feel kind of bad. I never saw the original, but I saw the Fincher one. And, it was enjoyable, but I was like, fuck, this thing's long.
Well, I remember watching those Swedish ones. Like, I looked at them, and I looked at the cover, and I was like, holy fuck, that looks badass. And it was just like the super gothic chick, and there's fire fucking behind her and all this stuff. I thought it was like an action movie. I'm like, this would be fucking badass. Well, I go out and I buy all fucking 3 of them. I'm like, you go big or you go home. And it's like, you probably should just buy the first one, see if you enjoy it. But no, I went for all 3 of them. It was like right when the 3rd one came out too. So I paid full price for it and everything. And then and I'm watching them. And it's like, okay, come on. At some point she's going to start throwing fucking punches and shit. And it's like, no. And, and it's like, okay, there's a couple interesting scenes in that first one, but it was mostly just kind of some murder mystery. It felt like fucking Law and Order with a gothic chick in it. That's like, I was like, okay. And then I watched the second one. The second one's a little bit better, a little bit more action, a little bit more stuff going on. But still, I was like, fuck. It's like, why are they look like they should be, she's standing, there's fire behind her. She's leaning up against a fucking, muscle car. Like, how much more action does that, look? It's like, where the fuck is all the action? And then the third one, it's like a court case movie, and she's got, this mohawk and everything. And you're like, oh, this is where it's going to fucking all go down. It's going to be a fucking, Taxi Driver in Sweden. No, not like that either. Couple gunshots, and that was about it. And it was one of those...
Go ahead.
And it was just one of those movies where I felt like I was so misled. More misled than movies that have guys with guns on the cover.
What was there I never saw or read the books or saw the second two, but do you know if they even plan on making theatrical not they already
you mean American versions?
American versions of the second and third books. The first
I don't think so, because I don't think that one did that well. I think it did it did okay, but I don't think there was enough interest to keep them going.
I mean, it was good. I mean, I liked it. It was like, oh, that's a good play. Oh, it's still going. Like, one of those things probably better off as a book. I will say, what's the character's name? Jessica? I think that's a fantastic character, but I think the movie was just, I don't know, a little too long. And it was one of those things I get they're trying to be fucked up, but it was almost kind of like whoever the Swedish dude writing it is just like, let's throw more rape here. I think more rape could go right here. Like, does it really need to happen? No, but it just seems like a good filler.
Yeah. I don't know. To me, it seemed like one of those movies. I guess to somebody who watches a lot of movies and sees a lot of stuff like that, you're just kind of like, oh, it didn't feel that actual ballsy to me. I mean, there's some couple scenes that are, but other than that, though, it's just it was literally just Law and Order or CSI, and then the only thing that really made it different than those things was you threw this gothic girl in there. It's like, see how edgy it is, see how different it is. I'm like, well, you just kind of threw one character in there. It's like,
I liked how I'm not saying that she it was a super edgy or got a cutting edge movie. I think it's just more one of those things I liked that character because I liked how unrelenting and how straightforward and blunt she was, and how she had no problem just straight up killing somebody. I think she's a perfect character for an action movie.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Don't get me wrong, I really like that character, and I love the chick in the Swedish one because she's also in Prometheus. But it was that thing. Her name's
Naomi
Pace or whatever. It's got a weird. It's you want to say Naomi, but it's not. It's something like
Naomi Rapace or whatever.
Yeah, Rapace. Yeah,
she's in the second Sherlock Holmes also.
Yeah, that's right. And I really like her a lot. And it's just one of those ones I think the character's really cool, but it just behind you, it's trying to do that ththing just yeah, she's edgy, right? Why? She's gothic. She's a lesbian. She's fucking solving crimes, fucking Scooby-Doo style.
Mohawk.
Yeah, and it feels like it's the gothic. And I know what it is. It's to a real conservative person, that movie is going to seem really edgy. But to somebody who's very open and seeing all this kind of stuff, and I think the other thing too is every once in a while I do get that thing where it's just because somebody's gothic doesn't mean that their life had to be totally shitty to get there. I don't know what it is. That's the only problem I always see. Whenever they put a gothic character in there, it's always just they make their life so fucking tragic. Can't we have a happy gothic person for once? Somebody's just I love darkness, man. It's the greatest.
Just skipping down the road,
Yeah,
like,
just like
in their hot
fucking,
topic
like,
clothes.
yeah, they just got
Platform shoes with
fucking
like
black
with,
metal blasting and stuff, and they got a big smile on their face, and they're fucking
with
skipping and dancing.
15 like buckles up their boots, you know, and like just for whatever reason, like metal knee pads.
Now, once again, I mean, I will say that a lot of the gothic people I've met in life aren't always the happiest people, but damn it, I want to believe that there can be.
I met some really friendly,
Well, I
nice
met
gothic
friendly ones, but I'm talking about like super happy. You know what I mean? Like fucking Lego movie happy.
Lego movie happy. You want like 1920s like Steamboat Willie happy?
Yeah, but just gothic-y. Like, why not? Come on. But,
right,
so as I said, like the Girl with Dragon Tattoo, they're not like, I'm not saying they're like really bad. Here's the thing. They're totally decent movies, but they just weren't made for me. Like, I guess I was just expecting fucking balls to the wall action. Like, I thought this was going to be like a John Woo film or something like that. They just happened to be in Swedish.
Well, I thought, like, I don't know, I was just going to check the movie out. I had no problem reading subtitles. I just, for whatever reason, my roommate at the time rented the movie on Redbox. Like, oh, they got it. I'll check it out, see what it's all about. And I'm like, oh, well, I liked it, but I don't really feel me to watch it again. I mainly wanted to see it just because it was Fincher. And like, oh, Daniel Craig, 007, cool. But, what was I going to say? Like, it just sort of seemed kind of like, there was actually, I thought this was I don't know what website it is, maybe more than one so website probably does it, but whenever the Oscars are announced, they'll release a poster of, like, this website will release all posters of all the movies and just sum the movie up on the poster and just say what it is. So the year Toy Story 3 was nominated, it's had a picture of Toy Story 3, the comedy event of the year, and it's just titled "You Will Cry," just same picture. Then at some point there's like Black Swan, and just like, the same poster just said lesbian sex scene for the title.
You could like, say that about the second Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the girl that played with fire one.
First one has that too, at least in the American version. And then there's like another, like, there's a bunch. I want to say, like, for the fighter, they had wrestler only with boxing. So it's like,
except the fighter's almost like more of a comedy because you got Christian Bale in it, and he's fucking hilarious.
I want to see that movie just out of curiosity.
Oh, you haven't seen it yet? Fucking Christian Bale, like, he gets scared at one point. He fucking jumps out of like a 2-story building and lands on a couch and gets out. Like, that's just what he does.
Does he like take like does he run away with his mom's TV down the street at some point?
Yeah, he does. It's just like he's all hopped up on drugs, and like that movie is actually, I was much more impressed with it than I thought I was gonna be, because sometimes I get all like Rocky defensive when there's other like fighting movies, just like, yeah, well, it's not gonna be better than Rocky. Come on, like, what are you gonna do? You can fucking try to top that? Like, it's like, oh, it's based on a true story. Yeah, so is Rocky.
Sorta.
Yeah, especially like all the other ones too. But
go ahead.
Yeah. But no, The Fighter though, it was a fun movie. Like, I know that's not like what most people call it, but I had a good old time watching it. Like, and then to see the actual Christian Bale at the end of the movie and the actual like Marky Mark, you're like, oh fuck, there's the real versions of them. I wonder if he did fucking jump out of a second story window and land on a couch just to get away.
Probably did. But no, I want to say this before I forget. So the one for the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the poster was all the rape, none of the subtitles. That was the name after the poster. Now I kind of get what it was saying, because there is that part in the movie where just kind of like the one lady you find out you thought was dead or missing, she's actually some old lady under a different name. And like, there's already so much fucked up shit going on in the movie. Not saying it was like one of those things where it's just like, oh, it's so hard to watch, or it's so, you know what I mean? I've seen worse things.
Yeah.
But it just almost seemed like it was trying real hard to be kind of edgy and kind of like offend older people, Well,
that's kind of what it was, because it technically is that you nailed it right there. It's a movie made for older people, but it's trying to be kind of like edgy towards them. Because it does not mind, like, as I said, maybe because I fucking, as like, I don't know, when those movies came out, when I was probably, like 24, because what was that, 5 years ago or something like that, 6 years ago?
Don't make me think about that. That's still a new movie to me, but I guess
a young old man orange child at that time. And
it was before we did the podcast.
Yeah, definitely before the podcast, but technically Old Man Orange goes back farther than that, because it was when we were doing movies and stuff. But whatever. So it was back then. And I guess to a young 20-year-old, that was not a movie that was made for that audience. It was totally made for like, hey, old people, you've seen this scary gothic person on the street before, right? You made sure that you walked the other direction when they came towards you. You didn't hold the door open for them in a restaurant, hoping that they would go away. Well, now they're in a movie, and now you got to see what their life is like.
You always had trouble making eye contact with them whenever you went to the record store.
Yeah, you were there for your classic jazz and fun jitterbug
Hey,
music.
Jerry Lee Lewis,
Yeah,
whatever. And there they were waiting for you at the register.
looking at you. They had an album that just had a picture of Satan fucking a sheep, giving thumbs
Why
up
you
on the
didn't quit?
side, but it would look dark and scary.
Yeah, I do feel like that was kind of made.
He was
for
wearing a
that.
T-shirt that said "Jesus is a cunt" on the back.
I think that, but no, I was gonna say like that right there is one of those. I think that is one of those movies that was probably pretty edgy. Like, oh my god, I never really thought of it that way, or just like, oh, these buff people have feelings too. One of those kind of things. But I don't know. I mean, I was more interested in seeing because it was a Fincher movie more than anything else. But yeah,
Because I never saw the Fincher version. Because sometimes
I
I don't know.
saw.
I felt like after I saw the foreign version of it, I'm like, I've been there. And I already kind of knew what to expect by that point, too. It was kind of like, I'm pretty sure Fincher's not going to add a bunch of action like I assume. It would be ballsy if he did. He's like, you know what? This is the movie that I thought the girl with the dragon tattoo was going to be, and that's what I'm making.
It's kind of like,
Larson's dead, so it's not like, what's he going to do? He's going to get pissed at me or something?
the guy who wrote it died.
Yeah, he died, I think, before those movies even came out.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like, I don't know. I feel bad for. I mean, I don't feel bad because he's like probably.
I don't feel bad for him. He's fucking dead.
No, I'm talking about like, why do I feel bad for dead people? They're not here to fucking get.
Yeah, they don't got feelings and shit
anymore. But there is like Fincher, because he's probably one of the most top 10 respected American filmmakers today. But I do feel kind of like every what
would you really say that he's probably top 10?
Not like my personal favorite.
Well, I know not your personal favorites, but
most respected. I mean, think of probably how many people, like how much they advertise when the David Fincher movie comes out. Think of how much it usually gets a nomination or at least a nod.
What was his last really big movie?
Gone Baby Gone.
That wasn't even that big though. That was still kind of like
it was
almost like a hidden movie. I mean, I'm talking about like he hasn't had a movie that I'm trying to think of something that was like, I know now Fight Club's always going to be the biggest. It's going to be hard to like top that. And then the one with Brad Pitt beforehand, Seven. Like those two always come across as like these huge movies for him. But I'm trying to say like
Benjamin Button.
Yeah, but that wasn't. People didn't seem to like. I was one of the few who liked that movie. You liked that one, right?
I barely. I mean, it was whatever.
Well, like I enjoyed it. Like I mean, I'm not gonna say it's like greatest movie, but I'm trying to think. Like he hasn't had like a big successful movie in a while because all these movies have done like. I'm not saying they did bad, but he hasn't had that same. It just feels like
They always seem to have like a very like at least like other like a real critical response. People like critics usually seem to like him.
Yeah.
And they usually get nominated. Maybe that doesn't mean jack shit to you or me, but he's kind of one of those people who could probably make a movie of him whatever he wanted. And I think he's a really talented filmmaker. I mean, there's more stuff than that what I just named, but I think if you were probably named the top 10 biggest American filmmakers, I mean, I think he wouldn't be maybe number 5 or anything, but somewhere in that list. Maybe I know Tarantino's one of them. Abrams by this point is probably one of them.
Nolan.
Nolan's a British, or is he more American?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't think American. I thought you were just talking about top 10 directors of like today's.
No, I don't want to go down this too long because then we're probably just going to end up
sit there going,
what about this guy?
Edgar Wright. You know, well, that's just your guys' fucking list. Yeah, so fuck you. I'm making the list. My podcast. Yeah. My fucking top 10 list.
I'm adopting him for America. Claiming him for America. No. Yeah, I think he's probably one of those people. Like, I mean, just take that. There's that book, Rebels in the Backlot. I think all those directors in that book are probably good examples of like well-respected. Like,
and mostly all those directors in there have done pretty well. It's not like that book because when was that book written? Like 2000 or something like that, early 2000s.
I think 2000, probably like 2005, 2006, probably something like that.
Okay, because it mostly just takes place in the 90s. I know they don't really talk too much about like the future, or I guess whenever it is. And fucking fantastic book, tons of great stories. But you think about David O. Russell, fucking huge. Yeah, he's Paul Thomas Anderson. He's still up there. I feel like he's another one of those directors. Like he kind of has passed like where he had these huge moments where everybody was talking about him, but it's not like people still don't take notice when his movies come out.
I think that like Fincher is probably kind of like, and people are going to say, don't you dare compare him to that. But I mean, really, when it gets down to it, like, I think Fincher and like Paul Thomas Anderson, they're probably kind of like a Francis Ford Coppola. Like, they're remembered for these few really, really awesome movies. And people still like them for other stuff they've done. But
like Jack and
The
Outsiders.
A lot of people don't give a shit about Dracula, even though I like the Gary Oldman Dracula. But
I like that,
but like everyone's Godfather 1, Godfather 2 is what everyone loves him for, and he's done other good stuff like Rumblefish and whatever. But I think it's one of those things that like it, everyone thinks of like Fincher, they think of like Fight Club and then Seven. Like Seven, and then after that it's kind of
Alien 3.
Alien 3. So I think they're kind of like, so they'll always be kind of remembered, and they're always kind of got that on their resume,
No, yeah, I think that is. But then there's some, like, I always think of, like, you look at, like, Tarantino. It's like, it's almost like he just puts out a new movie, and it's like, the biggest thing. It's like, he's back on top. Whereas some of these other directors, like Paul Thomas Anderson, even though, like, I always like his movies kind of come and go. And you could go talk to somebody on the street and be like, hey, did you see this movie? And they'd be like, what? Never heard of it, It almost where you could go down the street and go, hey, dude, did you see the fucking Hateful Eight? And be like, goddamn right I did, and fucking high five right then and there.
Then walk past and never see him again.
Exactly. Yeah, like you just made this friend that you'll never see ever.
But like,
or you will see him again. Then you have that awkward moment, like you feel like you should say something, like you
don't make
you had this moment in time, but it didn't really mean much. It was just a quick, hey, I like the same movie you saw, or I like that shirt you wore. But we're not really friends, but now you feel like there was something between you for a moment.
It's that thing as you're walking by. It's kind of like you both kind of noticing each other, but you both kind of like don't want to be the first one to initiate. So you're almost kind of like you're looking left, he's looking his left. Just kind of like then at some point you both accidentally lock eyes. Oh, just nod, just the awkward nod, just keep walking.
Exactly.
How did we get there? I don't know. But anyway, what was the last Paul Thomas Anderson movie? It was
I can't remember.
Last one I could think of was The Master.
But he had another one that came out, I almost want to say last year.
Probably did, but the thing
even that one, it just kind of came and went.
Vices.
I just remember because it was one of those movies you couldn't just go see it in any theater. You had to go to a special theater. And sometimes the thing is if you don't put the effort into doing that, then the movie kind of fades away and you kind of forget. I feel so bad. Like, so it fades away, you forget, and then it doesn't mean anything anymore.
Inherent Vices. I wanted to see that, but no, I was just thinking just about like The Master. What I liked about The Master is
him jerking off in the ocean.
Well, it was just one of those movies. I honestly feel like that was just like we'll go see a movie and we'll see a movie kind of like, just because our sense of humor, like, it'd be funny if he was like jerking off in the background or whatever. And that movie, it just like beat us, like all those punks on the internet are going to make jokes about that. We're going to fucking beat them to it. Opening shot, it's just a bunch of dudes on a fucking island during World War II, not doing shit, just hanging out. What's he do? He starts like making out, starts like dry humping a fucking lady made out of sand. Then he's fucking staring at the ocean, jerking off. Like, just like the most awkward. I mean, the whole movie at the end of the day was about like sexual, sexual frustration and all that. But it was still just one of those things. Is like those little hints here and there throughout the moment. It was just like weird shit too. Like he hooks up with some random girl. Like she meets him like, I got a pot belly, wanna see it? Okay, they go on the drink, they go on the fucking thing, they start making out, makes out with her, like, where do you want to go? Somewhere else. And later you see they're at a restaurant, he's just fucking passed out asleep next to her, like just he fell asleep in the middle of fucking eating, and she just looks like bored as hell, like, I can't believe it's my fucking date, he fell asleep while we were eating.
I know.
Like, the guy is just such a fucking wreck throughout the whole movie.
And then like he gets that job as like a studio photographer guy, and then like fucks that up.
A fight with that guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I only saw the movie once, but I just remember it had like, it's one of those movies you could see somebody would watch it and not find it funny whatsoever. But like if you have like a good sense of humor, there's just there's great types of humor that you don't see in normal movies, and that's what I like about it. Just weird, like you don't know if it's supposed to be funny or not, but it's pretty darn hilarious.
I watched it. I mainly watched it because back when Marley was doing his podcast, that was the episode that was the episode we were going to talk about. Me and Marley were the only ones that watched it. So other people were like, I think Jeremy and Kelsey came in. They were just like, yeah, I only got through halfway of it because I had other stuff to do, but I really liked it. And this is what I saw. I'm like, oh, dude, this part's fucked up. And, you know, it just like
you're like the guy fucking enjoyed the hell out of it.
I'm like the guy who just like I fuck this. They're all like analyzing it deeply, you know, looking at it.
Like, dude, the guy was jerking off the ocean.
Yeah, that'd be kind of like you can kind of look at him. The part when he's about to fight, when he starts to fight with that guy, he's kind of looking at the shot
in the fucking mall or whatever at the photo booth.
Yeah, and he's almost kind of analyzing the guy, trying to find a way to piss him off. You see him slowly walk up, push the camera, and it's just like this tension's building, and you know he's gonna do something, but you don't know what. And then I'm just kind of like, then there's the part like fucking Philip Seymour Hoffman or him are just yelling fuck you" at each other for like 5 minutes in the jail cell. You know? I was just the guy totally killing the momentum. Like this, you know, like this movie fucking gets me.
Well, the thing I think that's why I like Paul Thomas Anderson a lot is his movies. They're like technically these like almost like artsy dramas, but he puts some of the most fucking hilarious shit in them. I think of like Magnolia, which is looked upon as like Magnolia, this super artsy drama. I'm like, dude, but you know Tom Cruise is fucking hilarious in that movie. It's like the what would you call that?
Misogynist?
Yeah, like, well, sort of like misogynist, but like almost like man empowered, like, group sessions he's talking out. Like, almost like you got the woman empowerments where like, they're like, ladies, you need to rise up and do it. But instead he was like, men, you need to get up and take the throne and be in control of your fucking household. And just like all the stuff he goes through in that movie just made me laugh so hard. But it's like, that's not like what people remember these movies for, is like the comedy in them.
Yeah, it's like there's the part, what is it? Like, even though I think this part, like, don't get me wrong, There Will Be Blood is a really good movie, but it's not a movie you can put on every day. It's fucking long. There's like
but 15, it's hilarious.
There's like 15 minutes of like no talking at the beginning, and it's a beautifully shot movie. It's a good movie. It's totally worth watching.
Awesome, yeah.
I'd say it's even worth owning. It's just not a movie yeah, I own it too. It's just not a movie you can watch like not a movie you can probably watch even every year. But when you do watch it
twice. So I've had it for that long, and
I've seen it 3 times, once in theaters, once when I first got it, and then once on a random rainy day, like 2 years later after I got it. But it still stands out. And but it's like one of those things, if it wasn't for that ending where he just loses it on Paul Dano and just beats him, like, it was one of those things like There Will Be Blood. Like, okay.
One of the best fucking endings, I think, in any movie.
Because when you first see that fucker, you're like, man, I really hope someone kills this fucker with a bowling pin. I don't know why.
You literally do. It's like in your mind, you're like, I just hope this guy gets his fucking ass beat to death. Like, fuck that guy and stuff. And in most movies, that would never be the case. You would just put up with him and be like, that fucker, and he'd be like, he ruined this goddamn movie. Fucking Daniel Day-Lewis is in there acting his ass off, and you're fucking here to ruin it. And then you see that ending.
You don't think of the context of the characters, like this actor. Like, you're almost not even mad at the character. You're mad at Paul Dano himself. Like, coming in here trying to stomp on Daniel Day-Lewis's acting.
Well, I think it's like a double whammy. One, it's already this annoying guy, and just to top it off, he's like a fucking priest, pastor guy and whatnot. So it's like you got so it's got the Christianity in there dicking around with me too. So it's making me double angry. And it's just that thing. It's like, I hope that fucking guy dies. You're sitting there the whole time. And then you get that ending where fucking Daniel Day-Lewis is talking to him and everything, and then starts to beat him down with that bowling pin. And it's like a long, like, talking scene that leads into it, too, which is just so fucking excellent.
And the thing is, he's just like chasing him. It's like a distant shot. He's like chasing him around the thing. He's like, Daniel, we're family. You can't. He's like, do your magic to me. Cast me down. He's like throwing like a bowling pin at him. Then he like hits him, knocks him over. Then he gets him. What the fuck? And he just keeps going and doesn't stop. And then just that shot of him just cross-legged, sitting in the back like, I'm finished. Just the end, like, that is the most metal as fuck ending right there, dude. You know? And then, like, even, like, just some of the shit, like, how, like, he's such a fucking horrible person, but you just kind of, like, something about that character you just like, just that bastard in a basket. Bastard in a basket.
That scene is, like, that is a standing ovation scene. Like, that'd be the one time if everybody clapped, they'd be like, goddamn right. I saw it at home, so I was, like, cheering with myself, but,
Or it's just some of the stuff, kind of like how how his kid with him for a while was almost like his, like, sidekick, and he's just like, this is my son HW, you know, and he, like, the kid was almost like this. He almost seemed like he was like his like evil like protege. Then you know, once he goes blunt, once he goes deaf, he kind of like flips. But even like sets the thing on fire, and I'm surprised. I'm almost expecting like Daniel Day-Lewis to like beat the kid, not like a smack to the face, but full on fist, jaw. I was almost expecting that, but he's like, no, I'm just gonna send the boy away. I'm like, oh wow, that seems pretty light. I was scared for that kid the second that happened.
Yeah, it's.
But then there's the part where he tells the guys, he's like, look, you know, why don't you sell us your business or whatever, and then that way you can see your son, you can take him out of his you know, boarding school. He says, what'd you say? He's like, your son, you put him in a boarding school. She's like, if you talk about my son again, I will sneak into your house and stab you with a knife. It's just like, the fuck, you know? It's just like.
It's such a good movie. See, that's like Paul Thomas Anderson. He just, like, I don't know what it is. He writes this like very unique comedy, which I feel that not everybody gets, but it's so good. That's why I think dramas are always the best place for comedy. I've always felt that, and I think the whole reason why is they don't have to try. Where like a comedy movie, you know, you got to put a joke in every three lines or so, give or take. Mm-hmm. So at some point, it's going to kind of either fall flat. You know, obviously you got tons of good ones, but there always is the ones where you kind of get bored after a while. Where a drama, it's almost like you don't expect a comedy, so when it comes out, it feels so natural, or it just feels like just perfect, like, oh god, that's right there, you know. But then you can go back to being drama again, and you don't have to worry about having a joke every 3 lines anymore, because you can just save these moments for certain pockets of time. And
well, would you call Boogie Nights like a dramatic comedy, or just like, I'm not sure. It's like I feel like I should know. Is that a dramatic comedy, or is that just a drama that you and me find hilarious? I'm not really sure.
I'm going to go with the second one there, because once again, I actually think, because watching every single one of his movies, there's all like interesting comedy. I think he is writing that in there as comedy. I don't think it's one of those ones where it's like, we just happen to find it funny, and maybe like it wasn't made that way. I think he finds it funny too. Mm-hmm. But I think some of the general public doesn't notice that.
Like, it's some of the stuff, like some of the small shit he does. I say small for Boogie Nights, but you know what I mean. There's the part where he says to him, like, when Burt Reynolds introduces Marky Mark to the porn producer, he says, like, I hear you have a massive cock. May I see it? You know, just that, you know, just that. So, he says, I guess sure. Then he zips it, and you don't even see it, but you just see the guy's face, and it's not even kind of like, wow. It's kind of like, huh. Your smile is like almost like partway smile. That's really nice. Like, good for you. Good, you made, yeah. What's your secret? You know.
It's one of my favorite lines I always use in that movie too. Is like, $10 to see it, $20 to watch me jerk it off.
Well, my favorite part is even though it's not meant to be funny, it's I can't help but laugh when he's just like. When his mom's like, you're with that whore, aren't you? You get your shit out of your house. Like, don't do that. It's my room. That's my room. You know. He can't.
It does seem like, I feel like is he supposed to be partially retarded or something like that? Because I don't know what it is. He's like, but mom is doing what you want to do, and it's just.
Like then he just like grabs her and is just like, it's my fucking room. I'm not perfect. You know. Yeah. It's like where people are like, I never found that part funny at all, but I just can't help but find that stuff. But I almost kind of like, I don't know why. I just want to like, every once in a while. I mean, I could probably take the time to learn how to do this, but fuck that. There's already so many things we got to do. I almost want to take like, you know, like how you could almost like, I don't know what it's called, but I guess something to the effect of kind of like Super Mario Brothers Z, something where they took like old 16-bit or 8-bit video game characters, like the Pixels, mm-hmm. and kind of made their own animations off them.
Yeah.
Actually, kind of like Dorkly, something kind of like Dorkly. That's an actual company name right there. How they would just take, you know, like our already pre-existing video game pixels. I almost wanted to just reenact that with like Mario characters. I don't know why. And just have the part where it just cuts the dad, like sitting on the edge of the bed, just kind of like sitting there, like contemplating, and like, you know, he hears it, he knows he should interact, but he doesn't, you know. Then cut back, it's like, you know, just like Mario, just like, stop it, mom, you know. Like a little like short like Mario. I don't know why that comes to mind of all things, but
just something that makes you laugh.
Yeah, I don't know why I want to see that with Nintendo characters. It's just, I don't know. I'm odd in the head, I guess.
But I think that's like, I mean, like, I do feel that every single one of Paul Thomas Anderson's movies all have like if you put him in a comedy section, it would make sense to me. Like I know like everybody else would be like, what the fuck are you doing? Be like, but every single one of those Magnolia, even Punch Drunk Love's got some good comedy in it. I know it's got Adam Sandler in it, so you assume it's going to be comedy, but like, and I know it's kind of like in more of the drama category, but like just like his, in a sense, it's almost like it's just the better version of Anger Management because that's sort of like how that movie is. He gets all fucking stressed out and then starts like breaking shit and getting angry and like really fucking like he starts fighting people and stuff, and it's like I don't know why it makes me laugh.
I haven't seen that one. I'd probably like it. I know that Punch Drunk Love, that was like... Well, here's a funny thing. I actually listened to Paul... I may have mentioned this like a few podcasts ago, but I listened to Paul Thomas Anderson on WTF with Mark Maron, and this surprised me. He's like, Paul Thomas Anderson said something to the effect of like, yeah, one of my favorite actors is Adam Sandler, and Mark Maron was really thrown off. Like, really? Sandler's one of your favorites? Like, yeah. I mean, have you seen how like some of the movies, weird, artsy, kind of depressing movies I make sometimes? I kind of need something just like I know I get a lot of the criticism that he gets, but I don't know. I love Don't Miss the Zohan. I'm looking forward to Pixels, this and that. You know what I mean? He's like a huge, like not just like the old Adam Sandler stuff. He likes
it all.
He likes everything Adam Sandler that comes out, and that just sounds kind of so crazy to me. I mean, good for him. I'm glad you like what you like. So I'm not judging. I think it's cool. I just think it's kind of funny. The guy that made The Master, Boogie Nights, There Will Be Blood is so looking forward to Grown Ups 2.
Yeah, Sydney, all those ones. It's like, but. Yeah, I guess it makes, but maybe that's how it is. It's just one of those movies, like it's like, hey, I just like fucking Adam Sandler a lot. Like, fuck you guys for not like sticking with it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah. Well, but like, I don't know what it is. I think it's one of those Paul Thomas Anderson though. I think every single one of his movies I've seen all have like great moments of comedy in them. I don't think I've ever seen one that didn't have that.
I still need to see, like I said, Punch Drunk Love and all of Magnolia. I've seen parts of Magnolia. But no, like going on Adam Sandler though for a second, it's not even so much that I even hate Adam Sandler. We just kind of drifted away. It's like you got like every once in a while you have some of those friends that are just kind of like, oh, not that you guys had a falling out or you don't get along no more. You just like you
slightly separated with like and nobody said anything.
Yeah, just like, oh, we're here now. Okay, well, all right. When you bump into each other, oh, hey man, how's it going? Oh, that's new. That's new. Oh, you're engaged.
It's almost like you're both on a raft. And you're watching each other separate, and both of you are looking like maybe I should attempt to paddle closer to him, but nobody
you don't want to
does.
look weak. You don't want to look like the desperate one.
Yeah, so instead you just keep separating until you're over the horizon. You can't really see him again anymore, and then you forget because you turn around.
Men, we can't show emotions.
I don't know if you got this yet and read it, but did you get Dark Knight 3?
No, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I think I'm just going to wait for the graphic novel. I really think I'm just going to wait for the graphic novel to come out.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is then you get to read the story all at once.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what I do of single issues, when I know they're on like short runs, is if they go like, okay, there's only going to be 4 to 6 of these issues, I just almost wait till I got all 6 of them, and then I just read them in a row. Because the only downfall sometimes is like, this book, I'm just so excited about getting them every single time. Like, I could get, like, the hardbound ones and all that stuff, too, but it's like, I don't want to fucking wait. I'm like, I want to just read it. But it is sort of like, I pick this up and I go, oh, yeah, I forgot what fucking happened. Because it's been, like, a month or so or whatever.
Because I got issue 2, and I liked issue 2. And don't get me wrong, I do like that these books are a little longer than your standard issue. There is no ads, and they have the cool little artsy mini book that show what's going on with the other characters in the universe. Now, I will say, I'm wondering, when the book comes out, are they going to do a thing where, okay, here is the Dark Knight Returns story, and then is there going to be a secondary book, here's all the Dark Knight Returns universe with all the single mini issues within there? I'm wondering if it's going to do that, or if it's all going to be one thick book.
They'll probably just make one thick one, and it might
be in the back or whatever.
It might either be in the back, or probably the smart thing to do is if they did it where it did like one issue of like say like issue 1 of Dark Knight, and then they put like the Atom one is in a sense like the second issue, and then you did issue 2, and then you put the Wonder Woman one in here, and then you did issue 3, and then you put the Green Lantern one in there, and so on.
Yeah. Green Lantern's issue 3.
Yeah, Green Lantern's in this one. It's a weird Green Lantern story though, where like these other people kind of show up from another planet, and they're like, the Green Lantern is a god. He will do, he can do all this stuff. And then all of a sudden he's like, check out this ring. And then they fucking blow his arm off. And then he falls to the ground. They take it like, hey, He's just a man. He's not a god. Well, fuck it. Let's leave him here. They take off. It was like, what the heck's going on? But in this one,
you can see Frank doesn't like Hal Jordan that much.
No, I think Frank hates some of these characters, but it's okay. It's Frank's world. I'm down to see what he's doing. There's even a part in this one where Batman goes, he takes a fucking sledgehammer and he breaks Superman out of his like frozen solitude. He's like, pains me to say this, but I'm gonna need your help because I'm getting too old and I can't do it myself. So come on, Clark.
Well, it sounds. This apparently amped him up for volume 4, so this ain't gonna be like this ain't the final, because remember that was the thing about Dark Knight Returns, like this is the final one. Then he came out with
it's just like how old can this man get?
Then they come out with Strikes Again, like oh we're not done yet, we actually got one more in us. Oh, this fucking sucks. And but even though I went back and read it, because I would look at the artwork to that book and just be kind of like, what the fuck is going on? The artwork scared me away, but when I actually sat down and read it, I enjoyed it way more than I thought I did. I liked it. I think the news commentary is way more is there far more than it needs to be. It's way more. I think news commentary is way worse than it is in Dark Knight Returns. But I think he's trying to make more of a political satire statement than he is like about like stuff going on with superhero stuff. So, but it's still an awesome book. I think both of them are great. I'm still like Returns more, but I'm looking forward to seeing where this one goes.
Yeah, this one so far it's really good. Finally, Batman's in the costume in this one, so that's cool there.
He didn't come into the end of of the second volume, of the second issue.
Yeah, but in this one he is, and I like how Carrie Kelly's back in the Robin costume. It's like in the being like the Catwoman one, but no, so far it's great. But yeah, it is that kind of thing. Like you probably would get the best experience if you did just kind of wait and just read them all at once.
Well, I did the thing where right before Endgame came out, I just went out and digitally, because they're already there. I didn't have to wait anymore. They're already there. I just had like 2 or 3 months of for whatever reason waiting for the graphic novel to come out. So I was like, fuck it. I am very impatient. I am just going to go and download all the single issues for the Endgame, and that was one of Snyder's best Batman like runs, I think. So. I'm looking for the next one. The next one, I read the first 2 issues of what goes on the next one, and I can't wait for that. That comes out and I think just like a few days before Batman versus Superman.
Oh yeah, I guess that is right. For some reason, I couldn't remember if it came out in March or May for the next Batman book. I feel like it's been a while, but.
So it's going to be probably a little bit of that one's going to be really very around that podcast going to be very Batman packed with the graphic novel. And the new movie, and then assuming the new Justice League or animated something.
Oh, yeah, the Teen Titans versus the Justice League comes out, I think, right around that same time. If not, I think it might come out in April, actually.
Oh, okay.
But for some reason, that one's coming out way faster than they normally do, because it seems like mostly you always have about 4 months or so between them, and this one seems like, it's only a couple months after the other one did, but I'm not complaining, but cool.
As always, I'm looking forward to, Batman versus Superman, and I hope there's more than they revealed in that trailer, because I think they almost revealed too much. But more than anything, I hope it's really awesome, not for myself or enjoyment, but all right, don't get me wrong, people don't have to like everything I like. Everyone's free to have their opinions, but there's so many people that are just shitting on this movie before it even comes out.
It's because it's the end thing to do. It's just with everything. I just see it all over the place.
And it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, look at the suit right here. I don't know, that's so dark for Superman's suit right there. Or look at this. I mean, I understand there's certain minor gripes here and there, but it's like I feel like I hear all the gripes at once whenever there's some kind of breakdown video and people just kind of like, this movie's gonna suck, or like, people rolling their, like you see, I don't really watch them, but so one day I fell in the rabbit hole of like YouTube reactions. I saw people rolling their eyes like some of the dark Batman versus Superman stuff. It's those things like, you don't gotta love all the same shit as me or anything, but some of the people are just, I think, almost shitting on it just for the sake of shitting on it. You know what I mean?
You just wish Daniel Day-Lewis just picked up that bowling pin and literally showed up at all these people's houses and just started beating them fucking down in front of their web cameras.
Well, one thing I hear, people they're trying to use Dark Knight, even though people I respect have said this, but it still kind of annoys me, where it's like I've heard people say they're trying to use Dark Knight Returns without actually trying to work up to Dark Knight Returns. Like, they're just taking elements of Dark Knight Returns and putting it into its own original story. Doomsday and Wonder Woman weren't in Dark Knight Returns, And it's one of those things. I want the movie to be more than being for myself. I want the movie to be so good. Because one of my favorite things, as shitty and cynical as it may sound, one of my favorite fucking things and this says how obsessive I am, I guess, about media and whatnot, but is when there's like a lot of people shitting on a movie or a book or whatever. It's like, oh, this is gonna fucking suck. It's gonna fucking suck. And then it comes out, and then everybody's just kind of like, oh, okay, well, shut the fuck up. That was actually pretty good. That didn't happen with Man of Steel, but it did happen, say, with like, now a lot of people didn't like the second one, but people were all like getting ready to shit and just rip apart J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek movie. So many Trekkies were all like, fuck that movie, fuck Abrams, he's gonna fuck it up, because they heard about things he was doing with the movie, and they came out like, oh, well, that was actually pretty good. It's not my favorite, but okay, it was pretty good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like no matter what, they inside they're trying to fight it, but they knew that deep down they're like, I actually really did enjoy it. And I like that when it happens too. When it's like, no, yeah, just let people fucking do shit and then just fucking enjoy it. Like, you know what I mean? I look at this. It's like the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo movies. I'm not saying they're bad movies whatsoever. They just weren't made for me. But it's not like I'm going to go like, they're fucking stupid, like, and you shouldn't make them, and they're dumb, and I don't want to see this on the TV anymore, and I'm going to protest it in the street because I got nothing better to do. It's like,
yeah, it's like...
No, it's just like, I mean, I wish she was kicking more ass, but technically what I was doing is like, I was looking for a different movie. It's not that, like, there's anything wrong with the movie they made, but to me, I was hoping for something different. But that's like, people just, yeah, they get so, like, weird. It's like, I just think that everybody who has those negative attitudes, they should literally be sent to like a fucking third world country for a year. And then come back to America and be like, hey, it's pretty nice you got these movies coming out, right?
Among other things.
I want them to go to a place that has cannibal rape monkeys and fucking rape monkeys. And in evil fucking giraffes. Just horrible shit. Disease. Mosquitoes the size of your head.
Jumanji.
Exactly,
That's where Robin Williams didn't want to go back to the board game.
Exactly. I want them to go inside Jumanji and live there for fucking 3 years and then come back, and they should be the most grateful fucking people on the planet.
It's one of those things where I'm not...
Have a fucking hunter chasing them the whole time.
That's right, there's that old hunter guy. Just like, oh, the one human in this place I could probably relate to. Oh, fuck!
He's got a gun!
Which, think about that. I'm wondering if the hunter, we'll get back to Batman vs. Superman stuff in a second, but I'm thinking about that. Was that like, did he come across a boy? It was like, oh boy, here, I'll take care of you. Then some shit went down and led to him saying, I'm going to hunt this motherfucker. Or was it one of those things where he just like, from the get-go, was just like, oh fuck, there's a boy! And just pulled his gun out and started chasing him down.
He's gonna fucking pulls his pants down and starts chasing after the boy.
Oh, he's hunting him for different reasons.
What he's got, it's just a tranquilizer gun. He calls it Old Rapey.
Did you say Old Rape Beard?
I just said Old Rapey, but Old Rape Beard works too.
Pirate.
It feels like a pirate gun.
No, but like going back to like whatchamacallit, to Batman versus Superman. It's one of those things. It's not even like I don't get me wrong. People don't gotta like everything I'm into, and it's not even something. Nothing is above criticism, and everyone has their opinions. I'm fine with that. I just feel like sometimes when people get mad about a particular movie coming out, or a comic, or a book, or whatever, they almost get so angry. It's like I see like I don't want to like single anybody out here, but I see in certain YouTube channels, those days just fall down the YouTube rabbit hole of people just have this channel dedicated to like fuck this, fuck that, and that's what their entire channel's about. Just like you hate that much shit, you don't have anything more productive to do. You know what I mean?
Well, those kind of people, it's like I always just go like, what do you fucking like? Nothing. Everything is shit. You're fucking stupid. I hate life. And you're just like, oh, fuck you. Like, go, once you get, I'm going to fucking send all these people to Jumanji. That's my goal now. Just send it, fucking, nobody's going to Zarthura. I don't want these guys going to fucking space and shit.
That's Zathura. No one likes Zathura that much anyway. Let's go with, let's kickstart Jumanji. We got to find, Yeah,
but we just got to send all these negative Nancys fucking out there. Well, because that's the difference. There's so many, okay, you can critique things, but critiquing things doesn't mean that you're negative. But these people, they think they're critiquing it, but they're just being little bitches. And that's the problem I have. It's just like, dude, why you got to complain? You know what I mean? Like, you should be grateful you get any of this stuff, Like, you could live in a world that has none of this, where you're not allowed to have fun entertainment, where you're not allowed to have a fucking Batman movie on the big screen and everything.
And it's at the point where sometimes people talk like, oh, well, this is my favorite thing, and Hollywood's fucking it up to make it like acceptable to the lowest common denominator. Or my thing, it's kind of like now we're at the point where there is so much of that. There is so many comic book things out. If they fuck it up, it's not the end of the world because they're going to reboot it in a year anyway.
Yeah, well, it's like one of those ones. I think about it. It's like, I will say this. I think 90% of the time they do a pretty good job. You know what I mean? Like that might sound weird, like, because even the ones that maybe like, okay, like, something like a Green Lantern that people are like, oh, you do it, it's not that good. I'm like, well, if you take the movie for what it is, it's not a bad movie. It's pretty good, actually. It's not amazing. It's not the Green Lantern movie that like it should be, but I'm grateful that there is a Green Lantern movie.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, I don't think that movie's that amazing, and I don't even think it's really great, but it's not really a god-awful, atrocious piece of shit people make it out to be. I just think it's very much a superhero movie by the numbers, but it's not like painful to watch. It didn't ruin, like, it's not like, the catastrophe people online make it out to be.
Well, to me, it's like a Silver Age fucking Hal Jordan story. Like, that kind of like what it would have been back in the day. And I know that, like, sometimes people get, like, all angry when things do, like, the old school way, which is weird, but they're like, not fucking Green Lantern 2006, and I don't care. And it's just like, okay, it's like, I mean, like, I understand why sometimes they go for that, because they're probably making it for, like, a wider range, but, like, the Green Lantern movie, like, I think it's like a 3 out of 4 movie. I enjoyed it that much. I own it. I've seen it multiple times.
I think it's like a 2 out of 4. Like, I didn't love it. I mean, I liked it more when I first saw it, but the more I saw it, the more I kind of thought about back on it, and I guess my thing is, like, this isn't me trying to just be like a negative Nancy here. It's just one of those things where it could have done anything, but it did the thing that most other superhero movies do, and it just the same Spider-Man, original Superman format, and just kind of didn't really break away from it. But I still liked it. I mean, I want to say I liked it. I was all right with it. It didn't really blow me away, but I didn't walk out of the theater all pissed off and moody. And it wasn't even like Ryan Reynolds did a bad job. I just think it's more of like, you had like this whole weird cast of aliens that could have been his right-hand men that he could have been working with and training with him. They all got 1 or 2 scenes, and then he kind of goes off to Earth and just like, what am I going to do? Oh, wait, I got to be a superhero last minute,
Yeah, it's like, well, it's like maybe because it's like Green Lantern's one of my favorite superheroes. That's why I like it a little bit more. But, I mean, I will say, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, that did the Green Lantern movie perfect, in a sense. Like, if Green Lantern was just like that, it would have been amazing. But, like, for what it is, accepting it as, like, it's the only live-action Green Lantern movie we have, I think it's pretty good. It's fun. It's kind of like even other ones where people don't like them that much, like Jonah Hex. Like, that one, I don't think it's nearly as good as the Green Lantern one, but I still enjoy it. Could it be better? Of course. But for what it is, for the fact that, like, hey, that's the only Jonah Hex movie there is, I'm not complaining. It's good, but maybe I come from a time when we had movies that weren't like totally perfect, but we accepted them. Like
was grateful.
Like the '90s Captain America or the Dolph Lundgren Punisher. Like there was a period where it's like you were so grateful that they fucking had that as a kid. Like it was like there's a Captain America live action movie. Like you couldn't ask for any more. He fucking drives a Fiat in the movie. Well, it's even better. Like it doesn't make any sense, but it's perfect. And so maybe like that's why I look at all these other ones. I go, okay, like I mean, yeah, there is a couple of ones that are just kind of like. You go, well, that one's just okay. Like, you kind of just accept it like, it's, not that great. Or there's ones like, I just can't imagine ever watching like the Catwoman one. I almost want to sit down and watch it one of these days just for like an educational experience. I guess that's all you could call it. But there is certain ones like that where it's just kind of like, it's just never looked appealing enough.
Here's the thing. I don't want to backtrack or like backpedal on shit I was saying earlier, but the Catwoman one, I'm going to say that is a pretty bad piece of shit. Now, if someone likes that movie, then good for you. I'm glad someone likes it. I'm not going to say like, oh God, hope everyone burns in hell for making that movie. But it was fucking bad because it was just like one of those movies that was like, it didn't really take place in Gotham City, and she was Catwoman, but not the Catwoman we all know. And it was just, and there was like no actual supervillain. They were just trying to sell off the name Catwoman. There was no, as far as I can tell, no, maybe unless it was some really obscure villain that I had no idea it was about, but like there's no villain from Batman or Catwoman in there. It was just literally throwing the name Catwoman and then giving her kind of like, well, Catwoman already has kind of a sexy outfit. Yeah, I'll just make her look like a fucking stripper now. Like, oh, okay, we can do that. I guess we can do that, So
yeah. No, so that's kind of an example of like one of those ones like I've never seen it, but there's never been like an urge to go see it. You know,
It could be one of those things. Maybe. All right, here's what you do.
mm-hmm.
You get a nice. I don't drink too much, but get a nice big bottle of Jack. Maybe some expensive stuff because you're gonna need need something to prep
You
you up.
want to cheapen out on your body now.
Yeah. If you're gonna like destroy your body, make it at least spend a few bucks, and just sit down, get ready, just crack the thing open, maybe just have some like Ambien too while you watch it, might make it better, and just see where it goes. All right.
Yeah, one of these days maybe should just for like almost like a completionist thing. Like, okay, if I want to watch all the superhero movies, maybe I have to go through and watch that one because I do think about like ever since about like X-Men, I don't think I've missed too many of them, and that's only like one of the few ones I can think of that I never saw.
Well, it's like one of those things where it's you could go your whole life without seeing this
Yeah,
movie.
it's like
And you will be fine. You will not. It will not be one of the things on your deathbed that will wander back.
I never saw the Halle Berry Catwoman. I always just,
But,
I know it's not good, but in the back of my mind, I always just wondered, damn it, what was that movie about?
maybe you could just get like I said, like a glass of whiskey or a glass of brandy, and just kind of like prepare yourself, and just like, all right, let's just. If I'm going to destroy my mind, I might as well destroy my body too for a day. So
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those ones. If I did sit down, you probably watch like half of it, and then you go, yeah, okay.
You probably pull out your phone part way, just kind of like glance up, watch the movie while like on Twitter or some shit.
I don't think
I
sounds so weird, but like I don't think I've ever like nowadays when I watch movies, like there's no such thing as like multitasking. So it's either like I'm gonna watch it or I'm not gonna fucking watch it. So it'd be kind of weird.
I will say the one highlight of this movie. Now I don't really give a fuck about the Razzie Awards, but I overheard this, so I just looked it up. They actually have Razzie, like a Razzie Awards ceremony, and they invite people who won to come. They usually don't show up, but once in a while they will. And Halle Berry won worst actress of the year for that movie. So what she does is, and I think the year previously or 2 years previously, she won for Monsters Ball.
Yeah, best actress.
For best actress. So she comes out to this thing, and she like verbatim like reenacts the same like, oh my god, the same way she did when she got like the Monsters Ball like best actress thing. I don't believe this. Thank you so much. Just kind of like, all right, at least she's embracing it. You know what I mean? So you got to give her like credit for that. Like, I don't really give a shit for the movie, but I got a lot of respect for her after that.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of. There's another story I read pretty recently. It was about the guy who created the E.T. game. And how much pressure this guy was. He's like, I was under so much fucking pressure. They told me to make this game in 5 weeks. He's like, it normally would take, a year and a half to at least make something decent. And, he went on this whole story. It was kind of cool about, doing it and how he like met Steven Spielberg and he was one of his big idols and stuff. And then, of course, the game didn't pan out very well. But he's kind of like, at the very end, he's like, I like it because E.T., it makes me happy seeing it when they say it's like considered one of the worst games of all time. Now, is it that really? Probably not, but I like that there's that because one of the other games I made is considered one of the best games of all time. So to have that spectrum, he's like, I find that kind of a cool thing.
That is pretty cool. That's a good way of looking at it.
That's almost like the Halle
was that
Berry
the documentary about the? Was that on the documentary about the?
It wasn't on the. This was just an article I read, but like they do have that documentary on the landfall, and he went to it and everything, and he's in there. I wanted to see that, and then I never. I think it came out finally on DVD and Blu-ray, but
it's on Netflix.
Is it really already?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I don't have to buy it then.
I actually saw the Death of Superman Lives.
Did that finally come out?
Yeah, I got the free. What was it? The free trial for like HBO or something. Instant. It was on there. Like, all right, then I canceled it last minute. Just to watch the thing.
That's pretty sweet because I've been following that guy on Twitter or whatnot and just like looking. I was like, cool. I can't wait till this comes out. And then it's just like he's like, I need more money. It's like,
I'd support that guy. I like what he's done.
No, yeah, I know. I'm not complaining, but I remember it's like he kept having like the extended Kickstarters. It was like, I was like, oh, okay. It's like it's cool that finally came out because I've been wanting to watch that.
It's good. It's interesting. I will say though, it's because like they go through several different like versions of the script. There's Kevin Smith's version. There's the second guy. and I don't remember the third guy seemed a little. I don't remember the third guy exactly, but the second guy was somebody who worked on Batman Returns. He did a version of that. And I will tell you this right now. I mean, maybe he's a really cool guy in real life, but in the trail in this movie though, they don't talk to him for very long. But the second guy that worked on the script seemed like such a pretentious asshole. Kind of like, I never really read Superman comics. It was just not my thing. But Tim wanted to bring me on. So, he liked my Tim wanted to bring me on because he liked my work for Batman Returns. I guess he liked that it was someone who wasn't used to reading comics or someone who wasn't afraid to break from the boundaries. But I was reading Kevin Smith's script and it just didn't click with me. I didn't get it. I don't know. I was just like, fuck you, dude. And just kind of look at this dude's like, I don't remember like his entire like list on like IMDb of things he did, but it was just one of those like things like,
show some fucking enthusiasm.
Yeah.
It's like one of those ones you don't have. I feel like almost like you could write a script. It seems kind of weird still, but like you could write a script for a superhero movie, even if you didn't really read comics. But like if you're gonna do it, like fucking like appreciate what you just got and go back and try to learn the source material. Like I always feel like there's certain actors when they go to play like a character. Like I look at like the lady that played Jill in the Resident Evil movies. I like how she's like, what I did is I went and I played through all the video games. I really wanted to know my character. It's like, that's a fucking actor right there. It's those actors that kind of show up and go like, I didn't fucking care to look at the original source material. Fuck that real life character. I'll just do my own thing and fucking be good enough. Call it good. Give me my fucking paycheck. You got a famous actor in here. What are you going to do? Like, I hate that kind of attitude.
Yeah, and like this guy, I mean, granted he wasn't the writer, but he was one of the writers on Batman Returns. But like, I remember he had a list on IMDb. He had like one movie on there. Like, I kind of like that movie, but everything else was like Glass House. Fuck that. After being like, people need to stop shitting on stuff. Here, I'm like, fuck this guy. Fuck that.
Well, yeah, but it's like after you hear that, it's like, well, that guy's a fucking asshole. Well, fuck his movies then.
Yeah.
But well, probably one more thing before we should probably wrap it up. Getting kind of late, but did you see that link that I sent you for that Jay and Silent Bob beat 'em up game coming out?
Yeah, I did. I hope there's a lot more of kind of like View Askew lore in there and just not random stuff with Jay and Bob just fighting random people. But still, the art style looks cool and the game itself looks cool.
I was like, that's fucking badass. Like classic beat 'em up style, but with Jay and Silent Bob. I bet you'll have a ton of like deep cuts and whatnot in there. But I was excited to hear about that.
And they said there's an RPG element, like a turn-based RPG element, where you're trading insults. you lower their self-worth to make them like easier to beat. So
it feels like it's gonna have some kind of neat things in there. It might sort of like it's gonna be kind of like almost like how the South Park game is. How that one's kind of like it does a classic style of video game, but it does it like so fucking right, but it feels new at the same time.
That just sounds new to me, though. Just like it's a turn-based. There's an action RPG to it and tag-based. They said, but there is a mechanic in there. Just the idea of like a mechanic. Like, think of how much that would have sold the kids like in like middle school to us. Okay, so it's like a turn-based, like it's like Pokemon, like top-down view, turn-based. Walk through the schoolyard, you bump into another kid. You trade insults, which insult works the best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, until you shame them.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, it just looks sweet. I can't wait for that one. The only thing I'm kind of bummed, I wish it was like you could get like a physical copy on like the Wii U or PlayStation or something like that. They only got a physical copy of the PC, but you got to spend like $140 to get it. So it's kind of like, oh.
Yeah. It gets me a download one.
Yeah, it's just like I wish it was more than just a PC game, and hopefully, in time, because it looks like it's got like a 2-year window of being made, it can come out on the consoles. But other than that, though, I'm still really excited.
I bet it will probably come out to like PlayStation's store or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, if it doesn't come out,
waste the market if they didn't.
Yeah, right away it will. A couple months down the road, or 6 months down the road, or something like that. But that's probably a good place to wrap it all up at. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we will see you some other time.
Later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.
But apparently Street Fighter V, I've heard that like there's no arcade mode, no like
it's very bare bones.
It's very bare bones. It's mostly for online play, and they couldn't even get the fucking like servers working for the first few days.
I read that same thing, and because I was literally kind of going like, maybe I'll just go out and get it, because like some of the stuff I read, like you can unlock the new characters that come out and stuff. I'm like, okay, well maybe if they get this right. And then I kind of heard the no arcade mode, no like any of this stuff, and I was like, no, I'm not getting it right away. Now Capcom's like, oh, we're gonna put an arcade mode in there. Don't you worry, and we'll put all this other stuff. I'm like, yeah, but it's gonna probably cost $5-10 each time you put it on there.
And story mode is apparently just like 3 to 5 matches, I guess, with like still frames of characters talking. It's gonna like, fuck you. This is the PlayStation 4. This is the Xbox One.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Give me an anime cutscene or a full CG cutscene. We are done with the still frame bullshit. If it is an indie game, that's fine.
Okay.
You are Capcom. Fuck you. Give me an actual fucking cutscene.
Especially if you're not going to put anything else in there, for Christ's sakes.
It's like, this is your biggest fucking crown jewel, aside from like Resident Evil and Mega Man.
And you're not making Mega Man.
You're not making fucking Devil May Cry no more. You're not fucking making, like, I don't know, what's the last big Resident Evil game they made? Resident Evil 6? And anything else since then come out, really?
Well, they had Revelations 2 was the last one that came out, but like, it's still one of those ones. It's like,
was that a remake, or was that like
Revelations 2 was the brand new Resident Evil game.
Was it kind of trying to do like the traditional style kind of thing, or?
Yeah, Revelations 2 was really fucking awesome. That was like, it was one of the ones. If anybody for some reason who bitched about Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil Revelations 2 was like, well, here's the fucking Resident Evil. If you don't fucking like this game, then you probably just don't like Resident Evil. That was about, that was kind of how that game came out.
It's just one of those things, like, Capcom's just been, like, they're being kind of like Konami. They're just, like, fucking with it, just, like, fucking with their audience.
Ones like Street Fighter V, they've been working on it for so goddamn long, and just for it to come out, and it feels like it's, like, a tech demo almost. It's like...
And it's like, I saw the teaser.
I think they got it really dialed in for the fighting. I mean, like, I'm not, if you play it versus with a friend, it's probably good, but it's just like, are you kidding me? It's like...
And it makes me so mad, of all things, it's going to sound so stupid, but the teaser trailer for like, Street Fighter V... rather than being more of like a...
But yeah, that trailer.
Yeah, the Street Fighter V teaser trailer, like that thing, rather than being kind of like, just like some like obscure images, then with like a Roman numeral 5 at the very end of it, like a standard teaser trailer, it was like this really inspirational, like it was almost like trying not just even, it didn't even say anything. They showed like some video game footage of Street Fighter V, but it was mostly, you saw people just kind of like playing the game, competitions. Then you also saw like people doing like artwork and like, just making, like mixing music and doing all this, you know what I mean? Just like a lot of the stuff, like if they're doing some creative, it had like something involving a Street Fighter character, or someone tattooing like Zangief on someone's arm. And they have this very kind of like uplifting music with this monologue about like not having a limit. And it's as cheesy as it sounds. It was actually pretty well written it was like one of those trailers. Like, oh wow, I gotta rethink my fucking life now and buy Street Fighter V,
Yeah.
and then the fucking game comes out and it's just like, yeah, we don't story modes like 3 to 5 rounds, just still frames, no cutscenes, and there's no arcade mode, even though every Street Fighter game before had an arcade mode.
Well, yeah, it's just kind of like, what do you do if you're by yourself? It's like, and plus, it's like, the story mode, it's like, dude, fucking Street Fighter 4 at least had cutscenes.
Yeah, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? It's just like one of those things, just, the more, I was so glad, because I almost bought that day one. I'm just going to wait, just because not that I don't, it wasn't even that, like, I didn't want it. It was more, or I wasn't even worried about this, because I'm like, they're not stupid enough to make the same mistakes they did with Street Fighter 4. So I was like, yeah, I'll just, I'm going to wait till I get more money. It's not that I don't trust it. I'm just going to wait till I get more money. I'm so glad I didn't have the money when it came out, because they didn't make the same mistakes as Street Fighter 4. They made dumber fucking mistakes.
Well, it's just one of those ones like,
To me, it's just I did think about because when I read there was an article that almost changed me because I read it, I was like, oh sweet, like they're gonna have it so like when new content comes out, you can unlock it in the game or you can buy it if you just want to have it right then and there. I'm like, well, that's pretty fucking cool. But then I started reading other articles where it's like, oh yeah, well this version doesn't really have anything in it. It's only got like 16 characters in it too. It's like, what the fuck is this? Like 1998?
And here's like the fucking monologue.
Not even fucking 1998.
Here's the music in the monologue right here. Showing like a press start screen.
It's how we do what we do. To make something beautiful. To change the game. It's that drive that fuels us. The artist. The warrior. The visionary. It doesn't matter who you are or what you look like. Everybody can tap into it. We all speak that language. We know what it is to look up at an impossible challenge and push forward anyway. You go again. You fail faster. You fail better. You get stronger. You get smarter. And then one day, it finally happens. Something breaks. You push past what you thought your limits were. That ceiling above you, it isn't real. It never was. And you realize it's not that box you came in that made you. It's the moment you broke free of it.
Fuck you, no arcade mode.
Well, the thing is, like, that trailer does not sound anything Street Fighter like. It's like, it's just because it's all this uplifting stuff. It's like, and how you can achieve that? By punching your friend in the face multiple times over and over.
What they show is they show like a bunch of footage of new and old Street Fighter like video games, like just people playing the game like at competitions, and then they also show like some dude working like on a Cintiq tablet drawing Guile. You see people doing like fan artwork. You see people at cosplay conventions. You see people actually doing real martial arts. And it's the way,
You
so
see
it's
a guy
kind of
jerking
like,
off on the beach.
yeah, dressed like Blanca, But it's one of those things. So it definitely is.
I would love if that ball. This trailer showing all this motivational stuff. He just caught like, was that fucking Blanca jerking off on the beach? I don't know. It went by so quick. I'm not too sure.
Joaquin Phoenix as Blanca. No, but no, it's one of those things because you watch that trailer. I mean, it shows like. If you didn't know what Street Fighter was, you probably wouldn't think anything of it because if you're looking for it, oh, that's a Street Fighter because you see people spray painting stuff, making just doing all like the Street Fighter like artwork, and then on top of that, playing the game, then actually fighting in real life. You know what I mean? Like at martial arts competitions and that kind of stuff. So, and it was like, oh wow, that's actually a pretty and like I thought the monologue is like hallmark as it was kind of uplifting, and with the music was a nice touch as well. And then for the game to actually come out, like, yeah, we don't got all that shit. I mean, that's good job in the marketing department, but Capcom, come on.
Well, it's just, to me, I guess what bothers me, it's just like they've been working on that game for fucking years. And then for it to come out and just get that half-assed attitude, like, yeah, we can just throw that arcade mode fucking 3 months from down the road. I think that's the only thing is, like, I almost think the DLCs, it makes companies get lazy and just go, like, no, fucking put that shit on there day one. Like, don't give out a half. That's why I'm almost just done with buying fighting games anymore. I'm just like, unless you can get like the Super Rape Edition later on, like, no, it's just like fuck you guys and fuck you because it's like a fighting game is already such a limited game as is when you compare it. Like, you compare like a fighting game to like Fallout 4 as the part of the like how much content you get, and in Fallout 4 it's like you get like a 100-hour game or just any Fallout in general. You get fucking Street Fighter, same fucking price, and what do you get? You get like 16 characters and a couple modes, and it's like unless you play a lot of like multiplayer or something like that, you mostly got yourself maybe a 6 hour of entertainment there compared to your 100 hours in this other game. 6 hours plus you'll probably play with your friends every month or two. Maybe you'll put a couple rounds in.
I'll say this for a minute. I was thinking like. This is how old-fashioned I am because I'm not used to the whole online play. I'm still used to like going to someone's house and playing a game that way. But I was like, oh, wait a minute. I now have PlayStation Plus. That means I can play against Spencer if I get this game. Like, Oh, but I don't have the money right now. I'll get it later. But I was thinking right there, even if this game doesn't have, I mean, just before the thought of no of like of a low story mode or no arcade mode. It's like one of those things. It doesn't. If I probably had the option to play with my friends online and like not even I'd probably do that more than the arcade mode. But the fact that they're charging that much and doesn't have that, it's more of kind of like by principle. I'm just like, no, fuck you.
Well, it's just one of those ones that's like, I just kind of, I look at something like, you look at Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and that game actually, when it came out, felt kind of bare bones, other than the fact you got a copious amount of characters. Because it really was just arcade mode and versus, and that was it. But it wasn't really like there was a story mode or anything like that. This sounds weird, but that time period is like, okay, yeah, you got your 72 characters, which that's almost like the badass part, but it felt like, other than that, there was like, well, you just have a straight arcade mode. But at the same time, you look at that, it's like, that's so much more content that's than Street Fighter 5, and this game is, and that game's fucking 18, 19 years, almost 20 years old, probably, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It came out in 98.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then I just look at that, it's just like,
Well, how many does Marvel vs. Capcom 3 have? I don't remember.
It has like 36 characters or something like that. It's literally about half as much as Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Yeah, because of the graphics, primarily.
But, yeah, it's just one of those ones, like, 16 characters. And there's just the thing, too, it's like, well, then they're just going to, like... I will say this. If Street Fighter V was one of those ones that they did the Splatoon thing, where they're like, here you go, $60. Now, the game's kind of bare bones at first. We only got 16 characters. We only got 2 modes of play. We got versus and online and kind of a half-assed story mode. But for the next year, everything is fucking free. Whenever we release a new character, you just automatically get it. We've released new levels, you get it. We release new modes, you get it. I'd be like, that's a fucking good game company right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Or if they did the thing where it's like, you have to buy the game brand new to get that, though. Like, so it's like, you get like a one-time card, you put that in, and the season pass is free, So if you bought it used for $30, well, then you'd have to pay, $20 or $30 to get your season pass. Like, that would make sense to me.
I just might wait for it to, like, hit Game of the Year edition, assuming they actually just put the stuff that should be there for free, not extra. Like, I think it's fucking stupid to have to unlock arcade mode or pay for arcade mode. That's just fucking dumb. I mean, I heard it's going to be downloadable. Like, they're going to like, oh yeah, we're going to make it downloadable. But I bet it's like, at least don't make people pay for that. I mean, like, because that's something that's been every single one of those games since the first one. The very first one that hardly anybody even ever played, because everyone always just played 2.
Yeah, because it's hard to get a copy of that one,
Yeah.
But it's that, or it's like, if you're going to do that style where you're going to nickel and dime everybody for things, make the game like $20 for the core game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, at least make it fucking cheap, and then if you want, you can add on things. I mean, if you're going to do that, don't make it fucking $60 and give a half-ass game that you would have gave us a full game fucking 10 plus years ago. No more than that, because the Street Fighter 4 is probably about almost 10 years ago. It sounds fucking weird to say that, but
Don't say that shit. Don't say that shit.
I was thinking
It's
10
not 10 years, but it's not 10. Well, fuck. Let me think
No, it's
here.
about, because it was 2008, I think.
Well, it's not 10 years, but it's almost
8
10.
years.
Fuck. 2008 was 8 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, 16. Fuck, it was 8
Holy
years
fuck.
ago.
Well, okay, well, here's the Street
Oh,
Fighter Alpha
Jesus.
3, which I look at as the pinnacle. of
Last
Street
time I
Fighter
was
games.
genuinely happy was 2008. Fuck, it's been 8 years.
And it was not because of Street Fighter 4, I'll tell you that. But
Last time I was really happy was 2008. Oh, fuck. Okay.
that's a bumper sticker. But
Yeah.
Street Fighter Alpha 3, the best of the series, in my opinion. Like, that game, like, I think of how much content's on that one. It's like, you get story mode. You get that world tour mode, which I thought was, like, the coolest one, because that gave you a lot to do for a single player. You get versus mode. You had online mode on the Dreamcast one. You had, like, team battle. Oh, there's all sorts of shit in that fucking game. And that game's, like, what, 1999 that came out for Dreamcast?
Yep.
It's like, dude, and then they released, like, a PSP version. I think they had a couple more characters and a couple extra modes in it. I think you had that one, right?
I have it, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you did such a good game, but that's like 17 years ago by now. It's like, dude, come on, guys. Like, why does
off
Street
the shit.
Fighter keep going fucking downhill almost? You know?
I think Alpha, then like Street Fighter 3 comes out. Like, oh, it's good. It's just only like playing as these 5 or 6 characters really out of all these 20-something characters. But, it's still a good game. Still a solid system. And then you get to 4. It's just like, okay, well, it's fun, but it feels a little bare bones. And you get to this one. it's like they're just declining. It's not even because like they're bad
Four,
games.
I'll say this: 4 feels way more like packed than this new one does.
Well, like it's not even that like the games are actually bad. It's just they just keep on skimming you on like the characters and like the things you can do with the game and how much unlockability there is and like modes, you know. So it's just like fuck it.
That's my problem with fighting games nowadays. Is now they use the nickel and dime philosophy. So like you can't unlock costumes, you can't unlock colors, you can't unlock characters and all this stuff. They just make you pay for all this stuff. But it's like the whole thing is like it's a fighting game. It's like it's a game that really doesn't have a whole lot of content in it in the first place. So to take away that stuff, it's just like it's literally like taking an RPG and like you're playing Final Fantasy or something like that. It's like, oh cool, Cloud's got a new sword. Well, we gotta pay $5.99 to get that sword though. I can't just earn it, you know? No. Just because you beat the boss doesn't mean you get the shit from him. That costs money.
Yeah.
Well, like guild? No. Real fucking money. Get your fucking credit card out and pay us. And that's kind of how I feel with some of these games. It's like, why can't I just earn it? Like, you know, I already paid $60 for the game, you know? Even some of the DLC stuff, I almost feel like if you paid $60 for a game, I almost feel like you should get all that stuff. I understand that, like, if you bought the game for like $20, then yeah, maybe you shouldn't get all that stuff. But if you
the concept of DLC, where it's just like, okay, a game comes out, hey, you know what? We just got this great idea. It could be an extra couple of levels we made in the spare time. It just kind of crossed our minds of something we could do. Okay, cool. Now DLC's the point where it's just like they already got the stuff pre-ready that should be in the game, but they just know they can charge you extra, so they do it. Because I bet that's how it originally started off. It originally started off as like, oh, okay, we could just add to the game with the DLC, you know, like, oh, well, we thought of a couple extra levels or wanted to expand on the story, but then in this, then yeah, you get what I'm saying. My caffeine's clearly ran out.
Yeah, it's at that point. It's like fucking. But yeah, I don't know what it is. I want to enjoy Street Fighter V. I do. I want to go out and get it, but I just.
It's got to either drop down $20 in price, or they just gotta magically overnight get all of that like shit on there immediately. It's not going to happen though.
I know. I just don't feel it's like how can you charge people this price and give like a half-ass game, you know? But whatever. That's enough fucking bitching and moaning for one night. God damn. Anyways, getting late. But well, I'm gonna go finish Lethal Weapon, and I will talk to you in a bit.
Talk to you, man.
Bye, dude. See you later.